This movie starts with the end of the world. Not with a bang, but with a decision. Humanity tried to fix climate change, sprayed a chemical called CW7 into the atmosphere, and accidentally froze every living thing on Earth. Every living thing, except the passengers of one train. A train that never stops. The year is 2031. 17 years have passed since the CW7 catastrophe. But on the tracks, something lives. The Snowpiercer, a perpetual motion engine train designed by the reclusive industrial genius Wilford, circles the entire globe on a continuous loop, completing one full revolution every year. It is the last habitat of the human race. Roughly 1,000 people live aboard it, divided by a brutal ironclad class system enforced from the very front of the train to the very back. The tail section is where we begin. It is the lowest rung of this moving society. Overcrowded, dark, and stripped of dignity. They survive on gelatinous black protein blocks delivered twice a day by armed guards, and they live under the constant threat of violence. This is Curtis. He doesn't say much, but he's always watching. At his side is Edgar, younger, hot-headed, loyal, and guiding them both from the shadows is Gilliam, the elder of the tail section, missing an arm and a leg, revered by the tail passengers as their spiritual and strategic leader. The guards arrive, faceless behind their helmets, efficient, contemptuous, but today, a man has broken a rule. What exactly he did barely matters. What matters is the punishment. Guards force his bare arm through a slot in the train's outer wall, exposing it to the -80-degree wind outside. 30 seconds. His arm freezes solid. Then they shatter it. The message is clear. Obedience is not optional. Resistance is not free. This is Mason, the eccentric and fiercely authoritarian second-in-command who uses brutal force and propaganda to keep the impoverished tail section passengers submissive. Curtis watches all of this, and something inside him makes a decision. The plan has been forming for a long time, longer than anyone will admit. Notes have been smuggled forward from somewhere in the front of the train, hidden inside protein blocks. Tiny rolled-up messages that arrive like signals from another world, advising the tail on strategy, timing, how many guards stand at each gate, and what they're armed with. Someone up front is helping them. No one knows who. This is Tanya, a fierce and determined mother in the tail section who joins the revolution with the sole desperate mission of rescuing her young son, Timmy, after he is forcibly taken by the train's authorities. Curtis's plan hinges on one key piece of intelligence. The guards' guns may not have any bullets. The train was sealed 17 years ago. Ammunition is finite. And based on the number of times guns have been drawn versus fired, Curtis believes the guards are bluffing. They've been disciplining the tail through fear alone. The revolt ignites suddenly and violently. The tail rises. In the chaos, Curtis grabs a guard's weapon and confirms what he suspected. Empty. The guards, stripped of their bluff, are overwhelmed. The tail passengers pour forward, breaching the first internal gate, flooding into the next car with raw, desperate momentum. But momentum alone won't get them to the engine. Every major section of the train is separated by heavy security doors, requiring a specialist to open them. That's why the second phase of the plan is to retrieve a prisoner being held further up the train. Namgung Min-soo. He's a Korean security engineer, specifically the man who designed the train's lock system. If anyone can open the doors between them and Wilford, it's him. They find Namgung and his daughter Yona in a holding car. He's been locked up for years, sedated, isolated, kept compliant. He agrees to help, but he has one condition: payment in chronol. Chronol is a drug, common in the middle and upper sections of the train, made from industrial waste, highly addictive and highly sedating. Namgung is hooked. He'll open every door they need, one door, one brick of chronol. His daughter Yona barely speaks, but she watches everything. There's something almost unsettling about how aware she seems. The locks disengage. The door slides open. The group pushes through and stops. Here, in this processing car, they see it. Writhing, crawling, packed into containers by the thousands. Insects. Cockroaches, specifically. This is what the protein blocks are made of. This is what the tail section has been eating for 17 years. The horror isn't just disgust. It's the realization of how completely they've been dehumanized. They were never passengers. They were livestock, fed on waste. Curtis doesn't let the group freeze. They keep moving. The guards are waiting for them, not with guns this time, with axes and hooks. Masked, ritualized, terrifying. This is the train's enforcement muscle, and they are ready for a brawl. What follows is one of the most brutal and chaotic sequences in the film. The water car becomes a slaughterhouse. The tail fighters are outnumbered and outmatched in pure savagery, but they push through on sheer numbers and rage. Visual: the train entering a tunnel. Total darkness. Then the train plunges into a long mountain tunnel, and the lights go out. Complete, suffocating darkness. The guards slide on night vision goggles, and suddenly, the tail passengers are blind and helpless. The guards begin picking them off methodically in the dark. Curtis grabs a flare and hurls it into the middle of the car. The night vision goggles flare white. The guards are blinded. The tail passengers rush forward through the chaos. But in the chaos, Edgar is caught. A guard has him. Edgar calls out to Curtis, and Curtis has to make a choice in a fraction of a second. He's holding a guard down. If he lets go, he loses his advantage. If he doesn't, Edgar dies. Curtis doesn't let go. Edgar is killed. It's the first crack in the myth of Curtis as a hero. He made the tactical choice. He saved more by letting one die. But he'll carry it the rest of the film. Minister Mason is the voice of Wilford in the rear sections, a true believer in the train's hierarchy. The one who delivers the speeches about balance and order, and everyone knowing their place. She travels back to confront the uprising, and is instead captured by Curtis, who puts a gun to her head. She becomes their hostage and their passage forward. The doors open, and the group steps into another world. The greenhouse cars are warm and impossibly alive. Rows of vegetables, fruit trees, herbs growing under grow lights. After the tail section's gray misery, it's almost an assault on the senses. Beyond the greenhouse, there's a fully functioning aquarium car. Exotic fish, a sushi chef preparing food in real time. Mason, under duress, explains with almost genuine awe that the train is a complete ecosystem. Everything is balanced. Everything is accounted for. Every car serves a function in a precisely maintained chain. Disturb one part, she warns, and the whole thing collapses. The group moves into the classroom car, and it's jarring. Bright, colorful, with children singing a propaganda song about Wilford and the eternal train. The teacher, enthusiastic, beaming, leads them in hymns to the engine and the great order of things. The teacher pulls a weapon. The classroom erupts. Guards emerge. A firefight breaks out, chaotic, desperate, and one of the tail fighters is badly hurt in the ambush. And then, news from the back. Someone has assassinated Gilliam, the elder of the tail section. The man the revolution was built around is dead. Executed at the rear of the train, while the guards in the front bought time. Curtis turns to Mason. She's served her purpose. He shoots her. The nightclub car is surreal. A functioning club, passengers dancing or slumped in drugged stupors, indifferent to the chaos. The group pushes through, trying to move fast. But then the shooting starts again. Guards in cars ahead fire through the curved windows of the train, with a direct line of sight along the outside arc. The tail fighters are exposed and taking casualties. The firefight is brutal. People are hit on both sides, and by the time they break through, the group that began as dozens has been reduced to a handful. Namgung pauses and looks out the window. He does the math, quietly, almost to himself. The train just completed its annual loop. A full year has passed since the revolution started in the tail. It's now exactly New Year's Day. And Namgung notes something else. The snow outside is different. Some of it is melting. They reach the last door, the final barrier between them and Wilford. Namgung steps up to it and stops. He doesn't open it. Curtis demands to know why. Namgung turns and explains what he's been working toward this entire journey. This isn't about reaching Wilford. He doesn't want to take over the train. He wants to blow the side door open and leave the train entirely. Every brick of chronoli he's collected as payment, he's been stockpiling it. Because chronoli in its raw form is a highly volatile explosive. Enough of it in the right place will blow the train's side door clean off. His argument: the snow is melting. The freeze is ending. The earth outside is beginning to recover. The world on the train, the hierarchy, the violence, the protein blocks, the tail section, is not the only option anymore. They can leave. Curtis won't stop now. He still needs to go through that door. Curtis steps through. The engine car is warm, almost worm-like, dominated by the massive perpetual motion engine at its heart, and sitting in a worn leather chair is Wilford. Older than expected, thoughtful, almost gentle. He speaks without urgency, and then he begins to explain. The revolution, Wilford says, was not a surprise. It was planned, not by Curtis, by Wilford and Gilliam. The two men have been communicating for years, coordinating revolts from both ends of the train. Every revolution that has ever risen from the tail was choreographed, in terms of its scale, its timing, its ultimate failure or partial success, to serve a specific purpose: population control. The train carries more people than the ecosystem can sustain long-term. Periodically, the population must be reduced. A revolution is the cleanest mechanism. People die fighting each other, the tail thins out, the balance is restored, and the survivors return to their positions, too exhausted and broken to try again for another few years. Gilliam was Wilford's partner in this. The notes in the protein blocks, the strategic guidance, the timing of the revolt, all of it fed through Gilliam by design, not to liberate the tail, to harvest it. Curtis has no words. He came all this way to kill a tyrant, and instead discovered he was the tyrant's tool. And then Wilford shows him the engine, the true engine. The perpetual motion system has a flaw, a small mechanical section that breaks down repeatedly with components too small for adult hands to repair. So they use children. Children from the tail section, taken over the years and fed into the machinery. Kept alive but barely, working in the dark, their small bodies maintaining the engine that keeps everyone alive. Curtis sees Timmy, a child he knew from the tail section, a child he watched grow up, inside the gears. Wilford offers him the throne. Take over the train, maintain the order, become the next Wilford. Curtis, staring at the child, refuses. He reaches in to pull Timmy out. His arm goes into the machinery. He's going to lose it. He doesn't stop. Namgung detonates the chronol. The blast tears the door open, but the explosion is larger than intended. The shockwave hits the snowpack on the mountainside above the track. Thousands of tons of snow and ice cascade down directly onto the train. The Snowpiercer, the last engine of human civilization, 17 years of orbit completed, comes off its rails and is destroyed in seconds. Then, movement. Yona and Timmy emerge. They are the only survivors. They stand in the open air, real air, outside air for the first time in their lives. The cold is sharp, but not lethal. And then on a distant ridge above the snowline, movement, a shape, a living polar bear, climbing the slope and disappearing over the crest. The freeze is ending. Life, real life, wildlife, is already coming back to the surface of the earth. The train was never the only way. It was just the only way anyone on it could imagine. Yona takes Timmy's hand. They begin to walk. The engine has stopped. The revolution has ended. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to Haiti Explains for more amazing recaps and explanations. See you in the next one.